Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening. And
So this
at the
is
moment, we have Dr. Sangeeta Jainji over here and Mr. Sanjay Paturi. Let us hope others are joining soon.
yeah. So good evening all. Today we are happy to welcome Dr. Avatar Singh. He is a PhD in corporate governance and ex-principal in Ludhiana. Presently working as a professor in commerce and financial management and commerce and financial management. He is associated with as director in Nashville Education Foundation, as well as is a part of this MCA board. He has qualified that exam, director's exam, and as a part of MCA board. Thank you very much. So I'll request Professor Avatar Singh to take the session of the current status of corporate governance in India. He has done his PhD in this subject, specifically in the pharmaceutical sector, but he is going to explain in general all the details pertaining to the same. Thank you very much. Professor Avatar Singh, I will welcome you to please deliver the session. Thank you.
For some people to join, or should I begin it straight away? Because at the moment, we have only 4 people joining us. Should I start, sir?
Yes, of course. Yes, please.
So thank you very much, sir, Mr. Sanjay Paturi, for giving me this opportunity and for being so generous in introducing me. So I thank, first of all, the chairman of this IMCI, the vice chairman, and all others who are associated with this. So we expect some people to be joining very soon. So the topic for today is the current status of corporate governance in India. It is a knowledge sharing session. And before we start the presentation as such, I would like to introduce the tagline of Nashville Education Foundation, which is very much in tune with our today's lecture. Corporate governance improves the governance practices of organizations. It leads to efficiency, and above all, it leads to stakeholder confidence. So all these issues ultimately increase the productivity of the corporates and ultimately enriching the life of all those who are associated with the companies, especially the stakeholders. So coming to the objectives of today's presentation, we will be introducing the concept of corporate governance, and then I will turn on to my research on the subject, since as Paturi sir has informed to all of you, that I did research for my PhD degree in corporate governance of pharmaceutical companies. Then we will also look into certain areas which could be of interest to the practitioners in this group. And we will also look into how technology can lead to the enhancement of the levels of corporate governance, especially AI, which is becoming so important these days. Now, coming to the introduction of the term corporate governance, since all of you may be aware of it, I will not go deep into it, but certain things become essential. So first of all, I will define the term corporate governance. And for that, I will take the help of the definition which was given by Sir Adrian Cadbury, who drafted the first report on corporate governance in early 1990s, 1991 to be precise. He said that corporate governance is a system by which companies are directed and controlled. He also said that it consists of rules, practices, and processes by which a company is overseen by the board of directors and the management. So it is all about ethics. It is about compliance with the laws. It is about the relationships, rights and responsibilities, and how the interests of the shareholders are taken care of, how the interests of the other stakeholders, including employees, the directors, and others are taken care of. So there are 5 principles on which corporate governance is based. 1 is accountability, 2, transparency, 3, fairness, 4, responsibility, and risk management. Corporate governance aims at credibility and trustworthiness of the companies. Then comes the regulatory framework, which has evolved over a period of time in India. So we will be looking into this aspect in detail at a later stage. But till 1990s, there was very little as far as the regulatory framework was concerned, and the companies were mostly promoter driven, and the investors were at the mercy of the companies. The stock exchanges were not regulated to the extent they were required, and many frauds and other things did happen at that time. So there was need to make some regulatory framework in operation. And since 1992, when liberalization came about in India, so the regulatory framework also came into picture. We will also be going into the role of governance in building the investor confidence, the compliance, and the sustainable growth of the companies. So, as far as the evolution of corporate governance in India, we will look into the main aspects. In 1992, Securities and Exchange Board of India was established. Earlier, very few regulations were there in operation. And as I mentioned earlier, the investors had to suffer a lot because of the absence of regulations in the stock exchanges. In 1999, the Birla Committee, Kumar Mangalam Birla Committee, made certain provisions which led to Clause 49 in the Securities Exchange Board of India Act. Birla Committee suggested that there should be mandatory provisions which should be followed by the companies which want to get themselves listed. Because earlier in 1998, it was the industry itself which came about with a regulation or with a report, which is known as the CII report. This report, which came about in 1998, was basically a voluntary code. But Birla Committee report of 1999 suggested certain mandatory provisions. In 2009, the Satyam scandal surfaced, and a result of which many changes came about in the Companies Act and Companies Act of 1956, and also SEBI made certain changes. But it was in 2013 that the Companies Act was introduced, which was operational in 2015. So Companies Act brought about many changes. and it was primarily directed towards enhancement of the or giving strength to the corporate governance. And in 2019, SEBI replaced the clause 49 with the listing obligations and disclosure report, which was a comprehensive framework which gave guidelines to the companies which wanted to be listed. Now, what are the features of corporate governance? Although there are many things that can be said, but I will concentrate on a few of them only. One is independent director. So mostly the directors used to be executive directors or directors who were part of the company itself. But with the introduction of corporate governance in the Companies Act of 2013, Section 149 states that independent directors should be part of the board. The purpose of this provision is that there should be an impartial oversight by a person who is not aligned with the company directly. The main purpose of the independent director will be to protect the shareholders, to provide for risk management of the company, to provide strategic guidance to the company, and ensure
Bluetooth
accountability.
device is ready to pair. The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
In addition to that, the independent directors are also expected to play a pivotal role in conflict resolution. Audit committee was another feature which came about. Earlier, there was no such provision, but audit committee is supposed to be a part of the board of directors, and independent director is supposed to be a part of the audit committee. So they will look into the financial reporting practices, the internal controls and risk management, the auditor oversight, and all other compliance issues relating to auditing, besides the whistleblowing mechanism, which is very necessary as far as corporate governance is concerned. So basically, all the ethical issues relating to auditing, accounting, they are supposed to be looked after by the audit committee. Corporate social responsibility is something which must be complied with by the companies, and it is mandated that companies who have a certain level of profits and who have been making, who have a certain amount of net worth, they should contribute 2% of their profits towards CSR. So besides this, the CEO and the chair, there should be a separation of the CEO and the chairman positions. There is a slight mistake in this slide. I'll correct it later on. So this is the basic objective of this is that we should have a balance as far as the board of directors is concerned, or the overall governing of the company is concerned. So that there is a balance of power, and this is also in line with the global practices. The whistleblower is a very important part of the corporate culture, where individuals should be free to report any malpractices or anything that they come across which is not proper or which is against the principles of governance. So they should be given some protection. So this kind of a policy should be a part of the company's governance structure, and the whistleblower policy should be not only it should be there, but it should also be advertised, or it should be given importance so that people can voluntarily come forward and report anything which is unethical or against the principles of governance. Now, as far as the regulatory framework is concerned, we have the Companies Act of 2013, which I have already mentioned, that it is a comprehensive and robust framework of corporate governance. It has included mandatory provisions for the appointment of independent directors, women directors, the whistleblower policy mechanism, and all those things. And I have also discussed earlier about the listing obligations and disclosure requirements. And in recent times, in 2025, another set of amendments have been notified by SEBI, about which I will be talking later on. So these bodies, SEBI, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Reserve Bank of India, National Financial Reporting Authority, they have a great role as far as the corporate governance is concerned. NFRA is a recent addition, where the objective of NFRA is to regulate and enforce the financial reporting and the work done by the statutory auditors. Now, as far as the recent reforms of SEBI are concerned, they have enhanced the requirements for independent directors and the board composition to ensure greater oversight and impartiality. They have expanded disclosure norms on related party transactions, board evaluations, remuneration policies, improving transparency for investors. The reforms have also reinforced whistleblower policy mandates with direct audit committee access and improved protection for whistleblowers to promote ethical governance. They have also updated the CSR disclosure requirements. The companies are not only required to disclose how much they have spent and how much they are now also required to disclose how much has been unspent and what they want to do about those things. So greater transparency is now mandated as far as the recent reforms are concerned. The guidelines for rigorous annual evaluation of the board and committees to improve governance and effectiveness. So these are new provisions. These are certain strengthening the earlier ones. The board oversight and risk management framework and the internal controls, and on account of cybersecurity risks. So these are certain new provisions which have been incorporated. Moreover, the role of the independent criteria for audit committees that has been enhanced in order to make it reliable and auditor oversight. Now, as far as the corporate governance landscape, as far as the pre and post Companies Act 2013 is concerned, there has been a lot of change. The regulatory overhaul has taken place, as can be understood by my previous explanation on this issue. There are mandatory disclosures and penalties have gone up manifold, which is intended to give the investors more protection and more transparency and accountability are possible. Now I will be focusing on my research on the corporate governance of pharmaceutical companies in India, which I conducted as part of my PhD degree. So as far as the pharmaceutical sector is concerned, it is one of the most important segments of the Indian economy because it has a very high growth rate, around 8 to 9%. And since India permits 100% foreign equity and duty-free imports for the pharmaceuticals. And by the end of this year, it is projected that the sector will grow to about $100 billion. Corporate governance impacts research and development investments and access to medicines to the people of the country. So, but at the same time, there are many challenges which are faced by this sector. The product patents, price controls, regulatory requirements, infrastructure, global competitiveness. The quality management and stakeholder value are also very important as far as pharmaceutical companies are concerned. So I had conducted this research from 2010 to 2017, and I had made a comparison of the levels of corporate governance in the pharmaceutical companies during the pre-Companies Act phase, that is 2010 to 14. And I had made a comparison with the post-Companies Act phase, 2015 to 17. I had taken 92 BSE listed pharmaceutical companies, although at that time there were 166 companies, but data could be found only on these 92 companies. The companies were divided into three segments: large cap, mid cap, and small cap, on the basis of their market capitalization. And further, the companies were divided into professionally managed and family companies, Indian and MNC companies, and also on the basis of age. I developed, as a researcher, two corporate governance indexes, one for the pre-Companies Act phase and the second one, the post-Companies Act 2013 phase. The two indexes contained a large number of items or variables. The pre-Companies Act phase consisted of 90 items, whereas the post-Companies Act phase consisted of 118 items. They were divided into mandatory, non-mandatory, voluntary, and industry-specific variables. Now, mandatory variables are those which are required of the companies to be disclosed in their annual reports. The companies have to follow those practices and they have to report also. As far as the non-mandatory are concerned, the companies may not be adopting them, but they have to report in their annual reports. So besides these two, I had taken voluntary variables on the basis of the voluntary guidelines on corporate governance 2009. And I had also identified three industry-specific variables as far as the pharmaceutical companies are concerned. So these were part of the indexes which had been framed. All the variables were evaluated on a 5-point scale. And the secondary data was in the form of annual reports. They were procured from the BSE annual reports of the companies on the company sites and various other ways. Various statistical techniques had been used and tools had been applied which were necessary for making an analysis. Now, as far as the key findings were concerned, it was observed that large cap companies were able to give a better exposure or were give a better performance as far as corporate governance was concerned as compared to the small cap companies. Their mandatory variable compliance remained below ideal. So the highest reporting was 0.6827, whereas every company is required to report its mandatory variables. But despite that, it was only 68%. Small and mid-cap companies required more attention to improving corporate governance. Post-Companies Act, penalties increased and reporting also improved as far as the mandatory variables were concerned. Overall, CG score improved after the implementation of the Companies Act. especially in disclosures after this act came into picture. The voluntary variable observance increased in the post-2013 phase, which was a happy position. Industry-specific corporate governance scores remained low. Although I had compared it with the global practices. So with the global practices, our industry-specific performance was quite low. Further, large cap and mid cap companies have better access to resources for compliance. As a result, small cap companies which have lesser resources, they were finding it difficult to comply with the provisions. No significant association was found between the professional status of the company. So professionally managed or not professional did not make much of a difference in all the various, the cap sizes of the companies. The Indian pharmaceutical companies matched MNCs in the compliance levels, and the CG performance was not directly correlated with the age of the company. So older companies or newer companies did not make much of a difference. Investors benefit from comparative CG analysis across company sizes for better decisions. Good governance reflected in attention to voluntary variables. Since this is an area which we still lag, voluntary variables should be taken care of. For mandatory variables, post-act compliance improved slightly. Since earlier it was 61.59, now it was 71.17. Disclosure of non-mandatory and voluntary variables lags due to lack of penalties. This was one of the findings, that since there are no penalties attached to non-mandatory and voluntary, the disclosure norms were not being followed by the companies to the extent they are required to. Now, there were certain areas which were identified to be very minimal, or there was negative improvement. One was the shareholder committee disclosures regarding the audit report quality. The stagnation in some voluntary governance areas, poor pharma-specific disclosures. There were three variables: R&D expenditure, the scientists on the boards, and the innovation committees. So it was found that very few companies reported these practices, which is not proper as far as the pharmaceutical companies are concerned. Now, there are certain recommendations which I feel should be taken care of. Companies focus on minimum targets to avoid penalties rather than truly improving governance. So the people who matter should take note of this fact. Non-mandatory variables receive less attention due to absence of regulatory penalties. Audit report standards are not met as expected. This is reflected by the unmodified reports presentation. The data presentation in annual reports often lack relevance and clarity. The regulatory bodies should create precise reporting formats for all corporate governance variables. The observance of industry-specific variables is insufficient and needs improvement. It is suggested that SEBI should frame rules specifically for small cap companies because they have lesser resources as compared to the mid cap and the large cap companies. So this will improve their corporate governance standards also. There should be stronger deterrence and faster legal action in order to take care of the governance violations. It is also recommended that some more empirical research in India's contextual realities is concerned, is conducted. The government should or is expected to create awareness awareness and incentivize the existing minimum CG standards. Now, the Companies Act of 2013 and the SEBI reforms have led to some improvements in corporate governance disclosures in the Indian pharmaceutical companies. And the compliance remains driven by regulatory requirements and penalties as compared to voluntary improvement. Sector-specific governance standards, improved audit compliance, and transparent disclosures are critical for further advancement in this area. The research informs stakeholders, including investors, policymakers, and practitioners, for evidence-based improvements. Closing the gap between theory and practice requires strong regulations as industry motivation for best governance standards. Now, as far as the India-specific corporate governance cases are concerned, I will not be going into their details. I will only be just presenting the slide. Satyam Computer Scandal, Infosys Whistleblower Controversy, IL&FS crisis, and the governance lapses of the companies of Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi, and how enforcement delays led to their getting scot-free from the Indian enforcement agencies. These are all cases which need to be studied, and lessons should be drawn from them. Now, I will be turning to the next aspect of the governance, which is in tune with our modern times. So, what is the technology which can lead to improvement in the corporate governance practices? I will be referring to certain tools which can be used. One is the GRC platforms such as Matrix, Stream, SAP, GRC for centralized governance and risk oversight. Similarly, automated disclosure management for accurate, timely reporting. Then for board portals, Diligent, Board Effect, these are certain other tools which can ensure secure and efficient board communication. Audit management software for streamlined audit practices. Then AI and data analytics for predictive risk insights, digital training and blockchain for compliance and transparency. So these are certain tools which can be made use of. Now, as far as the emerging trends are concerned, there is in ESG integration. ESG stands for environment, social, and governance factors, which are being embedded in corporate governance. Then BRSR, business responsibility and sustainability reporting. This has become necessary because of the recent requirements of the SEBI. Board diversity, there should be more diversity in the boards. As far as women directors are concerned, that has been already incorporated, but certain cultural inclusion should also be there. Startup governance, recently various startups have come up, but when they gain maturity, they are also required to comply with the norms of corporate governance. So this is one another issue which needs to be taken care of. In recent times, there have been conflicts, sanctions, wars, etc., which put pressure on the governance. So these issues have also to be taken care of, and their impact on our corporate entity has to be understood. Just like the trade tariffs, which USA has recently, increased, so that it is necessary for each company to make an assessment as to what impact will it have on its working. And AI and risk management for predictive analysis and compliance monitoring. These are the trends which are visible as far as corporate governance is concerned. Now, as far as the consultants and practitioners are concerned, there are certain issues which I have identified. Maybe the consultants they are in a better position to see what can be done about it. One is the governance framework design. So the consultants can help in implementing robust governance structures, including board composition, committee charters, policies, codes of conduct, and other regulatory requirements and best practices in the corporate. The board and leadership development, they can organize training and workshops in order to enhance directors' understanding of governance responsibilities. The risk management and compliance is another area on which the practitioners can work. Performance assessment and board evaluations. Similarly, stakeholder engagement and transparency. Change management and cultural transformation. The integration of technology. These are the various issues which the consultants can take into account. And last of all, certain concluding remarks. Regulatory reforms have improved corporate governance, but gaps still persist, particularly in the small cap companies. The technology is a key enabler for reducing compliance costs and enhancing the corporate governance quality. The consultants have a vital role in guiding tech-enabled governance improvements. Collaboration essential among regulators, companies, and consultants for ongoing progress. So this was as far as my presentation is concerned. Now it is for Mr. Sanjay Pituri to conduct the remaining session. So thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Athar Singh, for the nice presentation you have given to us. It's really, we do have a lot of fulfill a lot of learning objectives. What I can understand is there has been drastic change from 1991-92 onwards till date, as digitalization is one of the major achievement that we have achieved in doing the needful compliances. As well as for the regulation part also, we have done a lot of changes in the MCA Act, especially what was there in 1956 and 2013. The act in between the two has changed a lot. Now I'll request the audience to have some questions for any doubt they do have, so the needful can be replied by Dr. Singh. Thank you.
Do please.
May I ask a question?
Yes, yes, sir. Certainly,
Yeah.
sir.
Your presentation, I'm on the board of a listed company, large listed company, and your presentation was very realistic and to my mind, really a good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But one thing my experience is that the monitoring authorities, if there is a presentation to be made exactly like this regarding the monitoring authorities of corporate governance, you'll find a lot of shortcomings.
Yes.
Isn't it? So
Yes.
many times I found that when it is easy to get away, because the monitoring authority can be manipulated, then I mean, even the best of companies will compromise somewhere.
Absolutely right, sir. given a small hint about Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi.
No, those are
We have
extreme. Those are extreme. Those are extreme. I'm
This is
talking
just an
about government
example.
of-
Actually, I have in my study also I have found that actually this is a reality in India itself, that we have very good laws as far as the laws in India are concerned, but enforcement lacks a lot.
Yes, that is a
The
problem.
enforcement agencies certain times leave people without this thing. At many times people get away with bribes and other such things. So this is a very issue which needs to be addressed by the government and the enforcement agencies, that laws are enforced properly and in the spirit that the laws have been made. If you have a law and it is not enforced, then not much can be done about it. People will go scot-free and things will remain the same. So thank you, sir, for the nice words. I hope people who really matter, they should be given this information, and they should also do something which is required of them.
Yeah, I personally feel that major issue is the standard of IAS. They are, when selected, they are good people, but as they move along in their career and lead departments and ministries, somewhere along the line, we have become very weak on the standards of the administration by the IAS. So that is may not be very relevant for your presentation right now, but unfortunately, this is what is my conclusion. I wish somebody could do something to see the IAS guys at recruitment stage. Many of my contemporaries got into IAS and all, good people. But once they get out of that Masuri Institute, I don't know what happens to them. And after that, it is all nothing great. So I'm this particularly about corporate governance. I feel that the leadership of government agencies, monitoring agencies, very, very weak, not good, only status conscious.
Some more transparencies policies should be adopted to the best of my knowledge.
And sir, to add one thing, there is a lot of politicalization also of these institutions,
Yes, yes.
Yes.
which is another big problem in our country. So if these institutions are freed from political pressures, I feel there are many good people in the enforcement agencies also,
Right,
but
right.
unfortunately they are tied up because of one or the other reasons or one or the other things happening in the political space. So things like these are, a big eyesore for corporate governance.
But I feel things have changed what it was earlier and what it is now. Slowly, gradually, incrementally, it is a change is there. I can observe.
There are
that,
positive changes.
more
yes.
transparent policies has to be adopted so that we can do the needful. Anyone else, please? I can have a question to clear his doubt. Is it okay? Shall we conclude the meeting? Okay, thank you very much, Professor Avatar Singh and the members, consultant who have attended the meeting. It was a great meeting. And I thanks to the corporate IMCI also, the chair of IMCI Bangalore for helping us to do the for the needful presentation. I thanks once again to Dr. Avatar Singh and his team. Thank you very much.
Thank you all of you, sir. Thank you all of you for joining and encouraging me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.